Welcome. You're listening to On Duty, the ABSA podcast. We explore the people, practices and ideas shaping boarding across Australia, New Zealand and Asia. Thank you for joining us.
Well, welcome to Schoolhouse. 1918, the boys called this not just home where they slept, it was where they ate, it was where they learned. It was where they'd walk up these little stairs down here, all the way back in 1918, and 3 hooks up there. You can see one large one in the middle and 2 smaller ones on the outside. Any idea what they might be? Come on, I'll show you. As we enter into this wonderful building, I love it. I love getting having the honour of walking in here every morning. So we have staff who live upstairs, 4 staff members who work in boarding, and Schoolhouse now is a full-time dining hall and kitchen. Come on, we'll show you the kitchen, but before we do, back in the 1920s, when the school was growing so fast, there wasn't enough room inside. So parents would pay their private school fees and their boys, as you can see here in the photo on the right, would sleep outside on that deck in the Brisbane humidity. The 2 hooks on the outside were the curtains, the canvas curtains, and the hook in the middle was for a mosquito net. Private school fees in the 1920s. But it is cracking to look at, and you imagine what it would look like all the way back when this wonderful old building was the only building within Cooee of anything else. But and now we're in it, so people call this place home. Newly refurbished toasted sandwich maker and beverage area, which has proven a game changer, which gave us a little bit more space out the back. Chartwells, who we obviously work with very closely, as do a lot of schools. All of our hot options down here for breakfast and dinner. Then fresh fruit, salads, smoothies for breakfast, and all the vegetables for dinner. Obviously the toasted sandwich maker, the kitchen through here. Anita is our head chef, Gary, 2IC, who do a wonderful job of being able to keep everything moving at a very fast pace. And Gary's going to be the boss next week, so I hear. Watch out. So it is a very historic building, and it is a very historic area. The crests of the 4 original boarding houses, Donaldson, Strong, Goodwin and Gerald, along with the school crest there on the far right-hand side. We do very much like the history and honour the history of all those old boys and old staff who have come before us from Goodwin, Gerald, Strong and Donaldson houses all the way back when. Fantastic story, which I do like sharing. We have 3 old boys who come in to do leather work with our kids, teach them the finer skills of making belts and pouches and wallets. One boy at the moment is completing a bridle for his horse, which is pretty cool. You see here that in 1950, when Goodwin House really became part of this building, which I'll show you on the right-hand side, one of the guys who does the leather work, 91 years of age, Robin Hart, he and his best mate, David Fates, met right there as they'd walk upstairs to take their gear, and Robin was coming down, David was going up. They met on the little halfway point, shook hands. They're now 91 years and they are still best friends. Watching them interact is like, if you had a best friend, that's who you would want. You know, that kind of the closeness of that relationship. We have the boarding staff offices through here. So Dallas, our boarding assistant, is here. She's away on leave at the moment. Assistant Director of Boarding is Nick Power, and he is at this desk. The housemasters and assistant housemasters are in here. So all this was newly refurbished over the recent break and has proven to be a game changer in terms, not just in terms of the simple things like storage and whatnot, but very much being able to have our own meeting room and a space that we get to call very much our, well, yeah, call our own, but also is quite warm now. I think being able to have less big old heavy Big old heavy furniture and a lot more natural light, which is very good. So that is really the crux of Schoolhouse, and I do think, honestly, I know this sounds a little romantic, but I do think back hundreds of years, 115 years that the school's been going. I think back to 107 years when this first started, and honestly, every single building that you can see out here, from over the road, through the trees down to the main city of Brisbane, every single building that you can see all the way through here, none of it existed. There was nothing here. It was paddocks and it was cows. They used to host Queensland state elections on the patch of grass just down here that we call the flat. All sorts of fetes and fairs, because just out the back of Goodwin House, our senior house here, is Norman Creek. And Norman Creek runs all the way around our sporting fields and hooks up with the Brisbane River. So, yeah, I would say the favourite pastime of the kids is getting their fishing rods of an afternoon, heading down the hill with whatever food they can find in the fridge and seeing what they can catch. Apparently Brim like eating ham. Ham. Interesting. So we'll come and have a look at the Longship, which is what we call our junior boarding house. It's made up of the Donaldson wing and the Gerald wing. Again, so Donaldson was a house in and of itself up until a few years ago when we amalgamated these two buildings and very much became part of the Year 7 program. We like the boys having that metaphoric set of training wheels that allows them the capacity to start their boarding journey but do so with an extra set of support. So both of the two wings have their own fully functional kitchenette. Food is number one. Food is number one. Before the boys even enjoy their sport, before they get to hang out in the afternoons with their friends, food is number one. So they've got all their cereals, all their breads. We're very lucky, and that is completely empty because they get their delivery this afternoon in about 2 hours. Ham, cheese, tomato, fresh fruit, breads, cereals. They get, same as every boarding house, they get their breakfast, morning tea, lunch, afternoon tea, dinner and supper. But on top of that, all this stuff is there, and the kitchen over the other side is a little bit bigger and a little bit more well stocked. So again, in here, in terms of staffing, we've got a staff member who lives upstairs full time, and effectively he's the go-to person of an evening. And the other wing has a staff member who does the same thing, middle of the night, knock on the door. Safety is obviously number one. Then we have a wonderful couple, Troy and Bobby Looms, who are residential master and junior house parent, respectively. They have extensive boarding experience. They've been doing this for the better part of 20 years. And they provide really the go-to. They're the focus for all of our parents, which is pretty unique, again, to be able to have a married couple who both work their full-time hours. So, yeah, bathrooms downstairs, obviously the stock standard pigeonholes for all their laundry. Of an afternoon, the boys come back from school and they have exactly the same system here in the junior house that they do in the senior house, which is back inside of an afternoon. They greet the staff who are on duty. They go straight upstairs, get changed into their civvies, do their laundry, and from laundry they then clean the rooms, ask the staff if they've got anything else that they need doing, and then we get them out. We get them outside because really that's the opportunity for them to be able to make their friends. So this is Paddy Tidd's room. Paddy's from just outside of Moree. It's terrible, isn't it? South Sydney, terrible. But at least he and I are two of the only people in the boarding world who actually go for the Blues during Origin time. Great, yeah, Wally, another room. And these guys are fantastic in terms of how neat they keep their rooms. It's actually not too much of a struggle for the younger guys. I think they are used to having mum and dad make sure that their rooms are neat and tidy, especially the boys from the bush. Yep. So they do a great job. I think we have 8. And then we've got 12 over in the other side of our house. So, yeah, staff member lives through there. Bathrooms, obviously, too. Yeah, I think it's been lovely to watch the evolution of the junior boarding house, of the Longship. It's hard when boarders, as everybody knows, it's hard when they first arrive. They don't know what to expect, and we do a great deal in terms of our orientation, but to be able to see the benefits of having a purpose-built, very specific focus for the junior boarders is huge, rather than just putting them in the main house with kids who are 18. To be able to have that year of training wheels is huge. It's affirming, it's supportive, it's warm.
Yeah.
They're just so lucky. You look at this, put it this way, when the old boys walk through doing tours with their sons, first thing they say is, "Wow, wasn't like that in my day."
Yes.
Yeah, well, they've got a fridge. Oh, yeah. And so we've worked very closely with the guys from Archives to be able to make sure that photos of the old school very much are prominent, so that boys do understand and have a sense of gratitude and understand where we've all sort of come from. Yep. And you'll see that certainly over in the other side, which we'll go to now. And the thing I like about, another thing I like about boarding at Churchie is that the boarding really does have its own precinct. So the school's main library, the Centenary Library, is one of the most impressive buildings you'll see on any educational campus, university included. Basically, everything on that side of the library, academic and admin, everything on that side of the library is sporting, and everything on this side of the library, from Goodwin through to Schoolhouse, through to the Longship, and then down to Gerald House over the road, is all boarding. All our staff accommodation and anything residential living all comes down to the one area, which helps us incredibly. So come on through. This is old Donaldson House, very historic, and is now what we call the Donaldson wing of the Longship. Like we have with a lot of, in every boarding school, either Aura or Reach, very similar, where all the leave is done digitally. Parents know exactly where their boys are. Staff know exactly where the boys are. We also use their mobile phones, which Churchie has a fairly strict mobile phone policy, whereby phones are not seen from 8:15 in the morning through to 3:05 in the afternoon. Yeah. I would say in 2 years I've seen probably 10 mobile phones.
Wow.
It's in the hands of kids. I've seen 10 mobile phones. But so the boys have, again, a couple of external breakout spaces. They love this. They love this space. And again, and we worked with not just the archivist, but Bobby Looms, so house mother here in the Longship, to be able to find some very specific rural and regional touches that honour, I suppose, where Churchie's roots were from. And we champion that too. So that's the junior boarding realm. So that at capacity is 25 kids. Yep. Churchie boarding has capacity for 172. Right. So we're a medium-sized boarding school. We very much focus on that pastoral care element. I would say with 7 female staff working across the 3 houses, and 2 more who are just starting now in terms of our training. I love having that female motherly touch, and I very much enjoy the fact that we're now getting more of our academic teachers who are working in the boarding realm. So rather than it being boarding staff exist only in boarding, we cross over with the sporting realm, cross over into the classroom, so that the boys see our boarding staff much more over the course of the day. I think it adds that extra layer of pastoral care. And, you know, you see a boy at lunchtime, our boarding staff, they have a free meal at lunchtime as well, which I think is huge, that they get to break bread with the kids. Food, like I said, is number one. You've got to get food right. And it's not just stocking the houses like this. I think it's also ensuring that the meals that come out, and Chartwells are fantastic. They are so malleable. We have our boarding student council, and they design the menu. So if a meal comes up and the boys don't particularly like it, we get rid of it and you don't see it again. They've got their favourites, which obviously come out a little bit more than the others. But again, we had a survey. Chartwells did a survey for us at the end of 2025, where we were hoping for, 65%, the golden number, of saying that, if you get 65% of people in a survey saying that, something's improved, which is great, and we had 87%, which was huge. Now, ordinarily we wouldn't be using this doorway, but both Goodwin and Gerald houses, the senior houses that have got capacity for 70 odd kids, are undergoing external renovations. And I think that'll be a bit of a game changer because it'll provide more outdoor seating, outdoor spaces that are shaded. It will be, there'll be new sporting facilities, landscape gardens, and realistically what we end up coming with, I will. No worries. I'll break my leg. If I break my leg, do I get...
I've got no money.
This is Sue, our wonderful cleaner here in Gerald. Sorry, Sue, I'm walking straight through you.
It's okay.
Freshly
As long
not...
as you don't slip.
I won't, I promise. The external facades, and I'll show you a little bit about how they're coming in a moment. So this is sort of the main office for Gerald House. Staff don't spend a great deal of time in here. We're quite active with our supervision, obviously, and I certainly know Richard Stokes is number one in that space. So tech locker, that's the one. So tech locker for all the boys. In terms of their mobile phones, years 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11 lock their mobiles up each night. Yep. Year 12s, we give them more leeway, but we work with the parents. So sometimes the parents will say, no, I know what my son's doing at 12:30 at night and on his mobile and I don't like it. So we work with the families to be able to create that solution too. Then all of a sudden, I think when you think about a device being just a phone really, but the boys, even if you do get rid of the Wi-Fi, which clicks off at about 10:30 at night for the older boys, who obviously stay up a bit later doing extra study for their big exams, you still find that boys find a way to be able to use their devices or a burner phone to gain access to the net, and that's where the active supervision comes in. We're big on education and trying to explain to the kids about what that means if they are up late at night and what that actually does, not just to the amount of sleep that they have, but how they're then preparing for the next day. So you talk about food being so important and food being number one to give them the energy to be able to do what they have to do. Sleep is at the very core of that as well. Yeah. Good diet, proper sleep, and they feel safe in a boarding house, and you've got the recipe for as close to perfection, I think, as you can get. So 70 odd rooms here in Gerald. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 staff who live here in this building in a variety of accommodations from 3 bedrooms to 1 bedroom studio apartments. We are very, very lucky that the boarding parents have their boarding support group, run by 4 wonderful people who give so much time, so much dedication. My phone never stops buzzing with ideas and ways to streamline processes, which is, I could not thank them enough. They're a tonic. They donated these brand new pool tables only last holidays, and amazingly, they still look new. So to be able to come through here a little bit, and I will try and move this. Like I said, the external renovations of both Gerald and Goodwin houses will be a game changer. It all looks a little bit concretey at the moment, but with the shade that will go in, not just from the natural plants that they're building and the trees that are going in, but from the shade cloths, it just means that on a Brisbane summer, when you have a 35-degree day, it's 70% humidity, that the kids don't just retreat inside to the air conditioning, that they've actually got a cool place to be able to sit, to be able to play, to be able to just be. And the part that I'm probably looking forward to the most is that it'll be very welcoming for parents. Yeah. Because boarding houses, I think sometimes parents feel a little bit standoffish. You know, oh, you don't want to go in the boarding house, boys running around in their undies. But really, you want parents to be able to have a place to go where they can sit down, have their little picnic, cup of tea, cup of coffee, and feel welcome. So I think this new space with the outdoor kitchen, brand new barbecues, Komodo Joe family smokers is going to be a really welcome change for the boys, the families, and the wider Churchie community. Again, breaking bread with your with your families and your staff is about one of the biggest joys you can have in a boarding community.
Very, very true.
You know,
No, it's going to be a great space.
yeah, it'll be absolutely phenomenal.
You haven't seemed to have lost any major trees.
No, none, zero. And I think the other part of it is that when all the other ones are planted, which will be the last step, I think this place will probably be finished around week 4 of term 3, whereas Goodwin on the other side, that'll be done for the beginning of term 3. And that will be a game changer. It's literally that, you know, previously it had just been some concrete at the front door and a barbecue that was out in the heat, you know, under a Bunnings umbrella. But now what they've got, and which is fair, like it used to be classrooms. So whereas Gerald was built as a boarding house, Goodwin was classroom. So they had to sort of rethink what Goodwin looked like inside and outside. Inside was completed a couple of years ago, brand new renovation in there, and again, game changer. All looks very similar. But the external place is really where we want the boys to be able to gather. Outside, off your phones, off your devices, go and kick a footy, go and play some basketball, grab your fishing rod, go for a fish. It's very much part of Churchie's unique flavour to be right in the middle of Brisbane.
Exactly right.
And then have, you know, the creek running straight through and to have so much space for them to be able to go and play and be and not be inside really is what we do for them, not just of an afternoon but on the weekend as well. So yeah, it's going to be pretty special. So the house itself is over 4 levels. So the basement that we walk through, which again we wouldn't ordinarily be walking through, we'd usually be going through that front door there, but as we know it's a building site at present. And then 3 levels of accommodation with all the different wings. So we have the boys that are split up into their year groups, and we have a couple of year 12s that are in each of the wings. Who act as, you know, monitors for that particular wing. They make sure the boys get off to bed, make sure the boys get off to sleep. But really, I think when you start hitting year groups of year 10, year 11, year 12, they've got the pulse of the building already, don't they?
Yes.
It's, you know, they understand what's required of them. They understand that there's a, you know, a reciprocity to living in residential living. Not often you see that board filled up with mathematics. Must be exam time. And we're going to renovate this area in here as well. Out with the old, in with the new, very important. The other thing I'd probably say as well with regards to staff accommodation, so all our senior executive, with the exception of one, live here on site at the school. So from the deputy headmaster through to the head of property and works, school chaplain, head of senior school, we all live here.
Yeah.
So you can imagine in terms of a residential community, I think we figured out that we have 40 odd people, only 6 dogs.
Only 6 dogs?
Only 6 dogs. But then there are sort of 17 young kids as well.
Yeah.
So I do love a Monday
It's a
night.
community.
It's the best. It's the best part about the whole gig.
Yeah.
You're providing this home away from home for these, you know, kids from the isolated regional. Hi guys. Isolated, you know, rural, regional, remote. But then you've got your own family that gets to enjoy that as well. You know, dinner with them. Our little 4-year-old Max, he goes down here onto the flat and plays touch footy with boys who are 12, 13 years older than him.
Yeah.
Has absolutely no idea what he's doing, does not abide by the rules, but loves it just as much, you know.
As someone whose sons grew up in the boarding environment through senior school, they loved it.
That's the best.
Loved it.
We had my daughter when she was 2. The first time she ever got out of her cot. She got out of her cot, she walked through the house, out my study door, into the boarding courtyard. The boys saw her in the boarding courtyard, the rowers that were getting up at 4:30 in the morning to head off to go rowing. She was given a gourmet breakfast of strawberry jam on toast. And in addition to that, when they knocked on our door at about 4:45, and I just woke up in my pyjamas thinking,
What?
What, 4:45, what's going on here? Door opens up and there are two of these big burly rowers in their zoot suits about to go to training, holding my 2-year-old, 3-year-old daughter, saying, "Sir, we've got to go to training, so can you..."
Look after your
Yeah,
daughter.
yes, I can. How did you get out? But it was this beautiful moment, you know.
Thank you, Mike. That wonderful walk around. So after our walk around, we decided to sit down in his office and just have a discussion. Talk about his movement from Kings through to Churchie now. And we just discussed life in boarding, working with the kids, training the staff, the engagement of staff. It was wonderful to sit down and have a chat. Please enjoy. Thanks, Mike, for the walk around. Now, you've dedicated 17 years to boarding. Do you want to talk through your journey into boarding initially at the King's School and now onto your role here at Churchie?
Yeah, sure. So really, I think like a lot of people, I fell into boarding. It wasn't the focus. I'd actually started my teaching degree, and in speaking to the deputy headmaster at King's at the time, who I knew, I explained what I was doing, and he said, "Why don't you come and live here on site, do some work in boarding, some private tuition, some sports coaching, and you can kind of craft your own way through your degree, make a little bit of money on the side. You've got a place to live," which I thought was fantastic. The stints that I'd done in boarding myself as a kid were relatively late in the piece because of sports training and doing late nights in musicals and plays and things. So yeah, I was excited to see it from the other side. And I was relatively, I'd had 11 years out of King's, having gone there as a student and then coming back as a staff member. I would say probably one term into my time as a boarding staff member, I think at that point I knew it was going to be something as a career, because I love the teaching aspect of it, absolutely. Imparting knowledge on little brains is great. Giving them confidence and a smile is great. But that pastoral care of kids is about as rewarding a thing as you can really instill, and probably is the reason why I keep doing it, now. You've got late nights and you've got weekends and you work through a lot of the holidays, but it's incredibly rewarding to be able to see kids grow from being, maybe timid little kids, or, kids who are struggling with backgrounds and things that have happened in their life previously, and all of a sudden they come to a place where they get this big, warm, metaphoric hug. They feel valued, they start to grow, they start to develop. So at the very end of it, you get that firm handshake straight back. They're looking you in the eyes and they're saying, thank you. It's not about being thanked. It's just the notion that they're about to go into the big wide world with a bit of confidence, no arrogance, a sense of gratitude. And that's the rewarding part. Especially, and this, you see them when they're older.
Yes.
And that, going to a wedding or seeing them at a school reunion down on the, banks of the footy field, it's very, very rewarding to be able to offer that to kids who need to come to a school if they don't have it offered, where they live.
Yeah, well, we all know that in boarding, it's 76% of our rural and remote kids have to come. They've got no choice.
Is that what it is, 70-something?
76% of kids in boarding are rural and remote and have no choice. That's throughout Australia. So you look at, and I love the fact that you, with your country, your silo painting and all the different aspects within your boarding, paid homage to the rural and remote families. And it's just so important.
Huge.
It's huge. It really, really is. I guess, what are the aspects about your role that you love? We've spoken about our ICPA experience and it's getting out and seeing our families, but what drives you, the experiences outside of this office?
Sometimes the experiences inside of this office aren't particularly great, to be honest.
Yes.
When I've got a student sitting there in the chair that you're in. What do I enjoy about it the most? I think having had the last couple of years in building a team has been incredibly rewarding. I think, like I was saying before, when you talk about having boarding staff who only operate in boarding and not in that day academic space, sometimes it can become a little bit rinse and repeat, a day in the life of boarding. So in trying to create a team where we've got many members of our team who work in various capacities around the school is incredibly rewarding. when we had our staff meeting at the beginning of this term, there were 22 of us sitting in one place because it was before school started. We were able to all come together, one room, one place for the first time in 2 years.
Yeah.
We did a simple icebreaker at the beginning. Everybody got to meet everybody, see each other, for those who had been with us a little while, and seeing the smiles, the positivity, the engagement. I knew that the kids in boarding were going to be the focus of these people. And we've got, older ladies, we've got younger blokes, we've got everybody in between. We've got mothers, fathers, we've got grandfathers who work in boarding. And as long as the kids are their focus, the safetiness and the happiness of these kids are their focus, we win, It was funny, I was talking about this the other day, someone asked me that question about boarding. And I said, boarding at its very nucleus isn't complicated. Once you get the food right, once you have your team right, once you have the facilities that allow you to be able to deliver, on a pretty significant investment that a parent makes, that a family makes, it's not that complicated, but you do have to have all those parts working in synergy. So I think over the last 2 years, to be able to serve Churchie in my role, to be able to get those pieces of the puzzle together, at the moment this place is doing really, really well. And just the smiles of staff and the smiles of the kids, the relationships that they've been able to build because the staff care about them, big tick, big enjoyment.
And just the little things like the little enhancements you're doing around the house itself, it just adds. And I loved your comment when we're walking around about the engagement with the families. They can come in and sit and have a picnic, you mentioned.
Yep.
I looked at that, as you were saying, outside of the house and looking there, that'd be fantastic. Like little tiered stairs, families out there just engaging with each other. Yeah,
and that's really what it is. So I think, I don't like seeing families pull up here on Oakland's Parade, slow down, and then the kid grabs the bags from the back and starts a term. Or when a parent picks them up at the end of the term and bags are thrown into the back and they head off. I want the parents to walk down the path. Yeah. And I want the parents to come and have a coffee or something to eat. And just in the last 6 months doing that, that there's a function at the beginning of each term and there's a function at the end of each term for the parents or the parents and the kids. It's a game changer because you're saying to your community, we're not just here to kick your kids out at the end of a term and get on our school holidays. It's we want you in our community as much as we know that they want to be in ours. It's massive. You're getting them to walk the journey with you. We're walking the path, and we all know correct. And we all know that there are parents who are happy to just go, here's my son. And then come back 6 years. 2 weeks with him. That's right. I couldn't possibly do any more. Oh no! How do you do 10? and then are happy to sort of 6 years later pick him up. That they're not overly enamoured with the idea of being, an active part of the community. Yeah. We're so lucky at Churchie that our parents want to be part of it. That our parents want to serve on various committees around the school. That they want to be walking into the boarding house. That they want to take other kids out on the weekends. And that's where I think Churchie is very unique. Churchie is very unique in that family and community space. And look, we're not a huge boarding school. We never will be. We're not going to have 350 kids with 172 beds. We will always be that boutique, middle-sized boarding school. But of course, the aim is to fill all those beds, which we're on the way to doing, to have a waiting list, and to be the boarding school of choice for South East Queensland. So in order to get there, we just have to have the right staff, number one. The facilities, as you can see, are pretty incredible. Yeah. But then again, you want to make sure that you are offering things that other schools can't, and that you stay true to your history and your traditions and your old boys, so that there's a level of consistency in that space too. Yeah, fantastic. Now, I've seen on your social media, your Border Focus Week, the National Boarding Week, your posts are fantastic. I love the video with the fish. And the kids talk to me more about that one. Also, because Norman Creek runs through the school, the boys, they love their fishing. And because we are, like we said before, they finish up at their school day, into the boarding house, get changed, do their laundry, ask the staff if there's anything they can do to help. They grab their afternoon tea, probably make a couple of extra ham cheese toasties, and then go. See you later. Enjoy. Go on shop leave. Go down to the cafes. But the most popular one is the fishing.
Yeah.
And I think there's something that fishing instills in kids, not just the thrill of the catch, but it's the fact that, like so many young men would appreciate, and dads, blokes aren't great at talking to each other sitting across a table looking at each other.
Correct.
You know, they talk about great conversations happening between fathers and sons in a car trip. Fishing's no different because they're all sitting alongside each other. They're all facing the same direction and they are talking about whatever they want to talk about. And the friendships that come off the back of that fishing, along with the skill of patience and resilience, because they don't catch a fish every day.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I love the fact that they do that. Yes, I do understand the irony of them getting a KFC Zinger box at the end of the term for the winning fish. I think, as my wife said on Instagram, catch fish, eat chicken. Perfect.
But would you eat a fish out of the creek?
Would you eat a fish out of the creek? Well, I do remember fishing down in the Brisbane River, down near the boat shed actually, and the headmaster came down and he said, "Great to see you here. My kids were there. A friend of mine was down there, and he said, just do yourself a favour and don't cook it up." I said, "It'll be a catch and release policy, headmaster. Don't you worry." No, but it is it's just a wonderful pursuit. Like I said, it's not so much about the knowledge or the catching of the fish. It's just about that patience and the opportunity for these little boys to grow into young men with meaningful relationships of those guys that are sitting next to them.
And it helps them, I guess, deal with things like homesickness.
Massively.
And all those things that the young men are having to deal with these days. And I guess one of the things, how do they deal with their social media? Talk to me about your social media. You mentioned your policy within the school, and it's fantastic that Queensland schools are doing that.
Yeah.
But how do you deal with the social media aspect?
I'll tell you what, you just touched on homesickness. Let me just give you a bit of a story before I get onto the social media.
Yeah.
So earlier this year we had a couple of positions that we wanted to fill for non-residential boarding assistants, so people that lived close by, who were non-residential in capacity and could kind of come and go. We were targeting mums or grandmothers, people who had been in the Churchie community, not necessary but helpful.
Yeah.
The boy was homesick here in Year 7, and he went down to the health centre, and our health centre ladies are beyond reproach. They're like they are in most schools. They're just so
amazing.
lovely, right? They're the backbone of so much of boarding. And this little kid went down and he got, the metaphoric hug. The ladies could see that he was homesick. He had 3 more days to get through before he got to see his parents. And he wasn't quite ready to go to school. He was still a little bit upset. So he sat on the park bench just down here out the front of the health centre. And the lady had just dropped her son at the junior school. She also has 2 boys here in the senior school. And she saw him, stopped, sat down next to him, asked him if he was okay. And he was trying to put on a brave face. And he sort of said, yes, mister, I'm fine, everything, I'm good. But he obviously was struggling to keep it together. She said, told the boy her name, and then said, would you like a hug? And he said, yeah. And anyway, so this lady gives this kid a hug. And she walks him up to school, goes up to see the school marshals. School marshals help, the boy off to class. I then got that phone call. I asked the school marshal, I said, do you know who the lady was? He said, yes. I found her on our database, being a parent, gave her a call that day, asked her for a coffee here at the cafe, and offered her a job.
Yeah.
And she works with us now and is one of the most beloved members of our team because she saw, as a mum, in that boy that he was struggling. And instead of doing what apparently the boy reflects on it, he says he reckons about 13 people walked past him.
Yeah.
But she stopped.
Takes the special ones.
And that's the team. You talk about, what you're most proud of. It's creating a team like that. Social media, it is tough. And I think every company struggles with it. Mums, dads struggle with it. I think kids struggle with it. I am very clear when I do tours here for the families before they, undergo the interview process, that I say my preference and what my kids are going to get when they are going to Year 7 will be a dumb phone.
Yeah.
And it won't just be that they won't have social media accounts, they won't actually have the capacity to get onto social media. I'm sure they'll figure out a way around it to a certain extent. But I think a dumb phone is personally the way to go for teenage kids.
Yeah.
I've seen firsthand on too many occasions what social media can do to boys and girls in boarding.
Horrendous.
And we've heard the stories. It is a real minefield. What we do at school is the school has its own, glossy, in inverted commas, a series of Instagram sites, Facebook sites, pages. Really what we do in boarding, I run it with one of the marketing blokes, and we keep it very organic.
Yeah.
We're not there to try to do anything other than show what the boys are doing over the course of a week. A few black and white photos, going back in history and sort of championing those moments. Sharing stories of the weekend, during the week, silly little videos like the fishing,
Yeah.
But it's just so important for us in terms of social media that we are keeping the kids safe from externals, but safe from themselves, because they don't know what they're doing. They get given a smartphone at the age of 12, they come into boarding, and for those little periods of time where they do get them, and our boys don't get them from about 8:30 at night through till 3:30 the next afternoon.
Yeah.
So you've got a really small window, in fact, and they don't get it for the 2-hour window during prep time either. So you're talking about, at most, even for the senior boys, 2.5 hours a day.
Yeah.
And they are on social media, I'm aware of that. I don't know if the social media ban has done anything other than maybe making it more front and centre, that these, some of these social media sites and pages and posts and people can be more dangerous. But
it's great what Apple's just done. With their new launch of the new software, I was looking at that and I think, well, this is going to help the kids and we'll get around things.
Yeah, they'll get around things. So I think we're very cautious in that space. Like most schools, we are conservative. It takes a while to sort of turn the Titanic, but I'm really happy with where we are in that space. We listen to our community as well, and I think to be at the point now with our social media space and the protection of the kids and how we're exhibiting responsible behaviours in that space is also really rewarding.
Fantastic. You touched around the home factor and having a mother involved and things like that is really, really good. Your connection with the communities, how often do you go out and talk to them about the different promotional tours?
Pushka. I would say there's obviously busier times of the year, so it really started teeing off recently.
Yeah.
And basically from now through till December, I say I'd be away one weekend or 1 week in every 3.
Yes.
I'm trying also to get my team out on the road as well. I think, it's important to send the people out to meet the parents who are actually looking after your kids. So the director of boarding, assistant director of boarding, housemasters, assistant housemasters. I do, because we have such a strong motherly presence here in Churchie boarding, it's important, I think, also for some of the mums to get out too.
Yeah.
And to be able to say that we are residential boarding assistants in boarding and I will be the one looking after your kid when he's had a really crap day is huge. But we go, all the way from northern New South Wales up through Queensland, both on the coast but mostly within. Then Papua New Guinea, Singapore, Hong Kong, Bamaga. So I think it's really important that the school has a voice in those regions and that the people get to ask questions of us. I love finishing the year. I love finishing the year up in Mount Isa, where they do the sports for bush kids. I love the excitement levels of some of those kids up there. The fact that they get a week off school.
Yeah.
They get to turn up. Mount Isa is the biggest city for some of them that they'll have ever seen. Yeah. And they just get to play sport for a week with proper coaches and proper equipment on a big stage, fantastic stadiums, fantastic grounds. There's something so positive about that.
Especially the fact that most of those kids would have only seen their friends online.
Yes, it's so true. All the School of the Air kids, it's so true.
The School of the Air, and they get this opportunity. I remember being in charters once when they went to the School of the Air and seeing the smile on the kids. It was just, and they hadn't seen each other for 12 months.
Ludicrous.
They're out playing sport. It's wonderful.
Yeah, it really is.
It's a way that you do engage. So I guess that engagement, Indigenous cultures and other cultures throughout your boarding? How do you promote and
champion success.
Them,
Exactly. So it's really important. So I'd say about 10-12% of the kids here in Churchie boarding are Indigenous, Torres Strait Islander people. We, the enjoyment, the inclusivity, the respect, I think that we all have for each other. Look, it was new for me, to be honest. When I came from Kings, I had a very small Indigenous population, very small, and 300 odd boarders, and I think at the time that I left, there were no kids who identified as being Indigenous. So to come up here and have sort of 12% of these kids is fantastic. It's fantastic. And so I think we have two really good staff members who work with them each week, including external agencies who also come through, from Cape York Leadership Program to Yallery.
Yeah, great.
But really exciting yesterday to have a meeting with the headmaster and sort of say to him, I'd like to take my housemasters next year to Bamaga. And I know you've been there, but the thought of being able to go and see their community and genuinely show an interest. It's not just talking the talk, and we've got a reconciliation action program, and you wear a flash tie and whatever. It's championing NAIDOC week. That stuff's all very good, but I think to be able to step foot on country in their homes is going to be something that I'll remember for a long time.
It's that opportunity to sit down and have a yarn.
Yep.
And just listen.
Yep.
That's the most rewarding part about it.
And
don't go to communities.
That is what I love telling a yarn myself. So sometimes the listening is something I need to work on, but I'm so keen to hear some of their stories about culture and community and what it's like living in that amazing part of the world.
And I guess you look at Churchie as a community itself. There is so many different cultures.
Massive, huge. Walk around. We saw. There was a class that I took the other day as a substitute, and when I started marking the roll, I was noticing some of the last names, and I said, boys, just look, before we get stuck into maths, very important. Before we get stuck into maths, tell me a little bit about, when I mark the roll, tell me a little bit about your family lineage. There were 23 kids in the class, and there were over 40 sets of basically grandparents. He's got Scottish heritage. There was a kid whose mother was from Scotland, the father was from Scotland, and whose mother was from Nepal. So I think in this world that we live in now, and it will only increase in the years ahead, we will all have mixed heritage. You know, my mum's from New Zealand, dad's from Australia. But those stories of cultural acceptance and the fact that hopefully our boys, we can start to see, and communities around the world can start to see, the colour of your skin and what God you believe in and what you say before you go to bed each night is so it is significant for you. What's the ultimate goal? Look, the boring one is to say, I want the beds filled with fantastic families.
Yeah.
Well, I want the beds filled with fantastic kids, but who come from fantastic families. That's the easy goal, and that's obviously what I'm working towards with my team. I would say the ultimate goal is to know that the offering that we give kids and the promises we make to families are fulfilled, so that they leave, like I said, with a straight back, a firm handshake, to help those who need help, and to have as the very core of their being, and we talk about it in boarding all the time, that we want them to understand that foremost Judeo-Christian ethic, which is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Just treat other people before yourself and like you would want to be treated yourself. That is a huge opportunity that boarding gives more than any other facet of society that I can possibly think of. The selflessness, the positivity, the brotherhood or the sisterhood. Boarding is so primarily positioned to be able to do that in this world.
Fantastic. Now, one piece of advice. A new person looking at boarding, a teacher,
Yep.
a non-teaching staff looking at boarding, what's one piece of advice that you would give them to start with?
Be patient. Get to know the kids. It won't be an instant fix. I think kids are... they're not going to trust every adult straight away, but as soon as they know that you care, they will give you a relationship that will last you for a lifetime. Be patient and be aware that what you can get out of boarding, the relationships that you and your family can make within that residential living community, are second to none.
Yeah.
Second to none.
Fantastic. Hey, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Wonderful, wonderful time. And yeah, I really enjoyed my time here at Churchie. Thank you so much, Mike.
Sorry about the weather.
Yeah, but it's great to see the rain. We haven't seen it for a while.
Yep. Well, I can guarantee you now that because of that weather, you're going to have 144 boarders who are all outside on that flat playing touch footy.
Yep.
I'd have to remind the boarding assistants to get the washing machines ready.
Totally, all they'll be on the flats.
Yeah, that's right. Mate, good chat.
Thank you so much, mate.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Mike. That was a wonderful day. Thank you for taking us on a lovely walk around the beautiful college grounds, as well as the boarding house. And the time we spent having a chat was wonderful. Thank you so much for your insight. Thank you so much for your passion. And I really look forward to seeing where Churchie goes over the next few years. I want to thank everyone, and please like and subscribe and share these wonderful podcasts, and give us an opportunity to see different parts of Australia. So as we are moving around APSA, especially coming into symposiums, then we'll be doing some more recordings and doing some more webinars as we go through the year. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.